Welcome to Verbal Pick Radio, where we give you a verbal image of life. We are everyday people. Like to welcome you all to the show. Hey, it don't stop. I know. I know you all are saying, man, he's at it again with these controversial topics, with this black stuff and upsetting a lot of people. And no, that's not the intention of the show. That's not the purpose of this show. This show is strictly to bring out issues of truth that affect our everyday lives and affect those who can't speak for themselves, who may have been extinct. A whole tribe, a whole race of people may have been extinct, and we go back and tell their story to let you all know that they actually existed and they had a right to. So, and it's actually to clear the air. So don't take offense. Don't get the blocking shows and making things hard for us to get the story out because you may not like the content or the subject matter or what we're talking about. Actually, it's to help. Believe me, it's actually to help humanity move in a positive way, to heal or mend a lot of fences and a lot of emotions and heartaches and lies that was told, so we can move on into our next endeavor in life as a human race. You may say, okay, what is he talking about? Why is he talking about a whole tribe of people or a group of people that was extinct or that is extinct? Okay, let me give it to you. We talking about the Tasmanian people who millions upon millions were slaughtered by the invasion of the English in Australia, and they killed most of them. Some survived, and I think the last remaining member of the Tazmanian tribe, he passed away, but they slaughtered millions. That's parallel. That's in conjunction. That's the same thing what happened to the black natives in America. In America, you may have the English, you may have had the Dutch, even though the Dutch and the Irish were slaves, white slaves in America, but still, you had the English, the Dutch, you had the Spaniards, you had the Romans, all coming to the Americas, took the land from the black natives that was here, and now you see certain members of the conquering tribes claiming the identity of the original people who was here first. You got $5 Indians. You got people claiming to be Native American. They ain't got no more Native American blood in them ever. Just totally stole identity, walking around saying that they're the natives. Just like in Australia, you got people walking around claiming that they are the Aboriginal people or they part of the Aboriginal tribe, taking on their identity. Don't even like to talk about the brutal slaughter of millions of the Tasmanian people to where you killed them into extinction. But they suffered the same plight as the black natives did in America, to the same thing. The Tasmanian people were in Australia enjoying life. Then the English came, killed off of them, took the land. The surviving members of that tribe, some of the invaders actually started calling themselves Tasmanian people and Aboriginal people, taking on the culture, taking on the language, and perpetrating the fraud. I mean, it's what Mike Tyson say is ludicrous. Then it don't make no sense at all. But that's where we at today. Let me read a little something for you all. And this is coming from The Guardian, Australia News, the Lost Tribe, right? It says it was said that a race of indigenous people had, within 80 years of the English invasion, disappeared from the face of the earth as surely as the dodo bird. Meaning, they came through and just wiped these people out. Took their land. Same thing. I mean, what people have to realize is when the colonizer left Europe, anywhere he saw indigenous people or original people on that land, he felt as though he had authority from his God to take that land to teach Christianity to heathens when these people were living and cultivating and was teaching the colonizer how to survive in the land. But nevertheless, hey, we're going to take your land. So, what are you going to do about it? Because why? We have the bigger weapons, and we kill mercilessly. So that's what it is, right? Okay. With the death of Tazmanian in 1876, the last of the Tazmanians was gone. And you spell that name is Truganini. He was the last remaining member of the Tazmanian tribe. And he died in 1876, and that was it, right? Now we're going to move on down. So I'm going to show you how it get tricky, right? How things get tricky. It was strangely pervasive and persuasive view which held until as late as the 1970s, when prominent archaeologists would still talk of the declining technological base of the extinct Tasmanian Aborigines. While this wistful debate went on, the descendants of the Tasmanian Aborigines battled a bizarre and most Tasmanian of fates, while some were discriminated against as black people. Color of the skin, melanated, black, 1 drop, 1,000 drops. In their eye, in the colonizer eye, you're black, you're going to get discriminated against. That was just across the board. 1970s, right? Being subjected to different laws, same thing happened here in America, forced until the 1940s to live in special areas, meaning the Aboriginal people native to that land was discriminated against on their own land, and then and where they used to roam freely, you were subjugated to only specific parts that you can travel and move about in. They boxed you in. Okay. That's why you look around in different black neighborhoods in America and you see black children or black females or men look just like the Aboriginal people, and they say, well, where you from? They don't know. They like, I've been here. It's because we travel back and forth freely. But let's continue. Forced until the 1940s to live in special areas, and until the 1970s, subjected to a policy of assimilation that could see their children being taken away from them. They would be reviled if they called for equal rights as Aborigines, being told Tasmanian Aborigines didn't exist. Meaning, you calling, they wiped you off the map, but the surviving members of the Aborigine tribe, those who say, well, no, we are Aborigines, some of us survived. No, all the Aborigines are extinct from our account, so you don't exist. But I'm standing here looking at you, but you know how the game goes. The oppression these Aborigines experienced following the so-called Black War led to many paradoxes. The survivors of the invasion fell into two groups. There were those largely descended from the offspring of Aboriginal women, stolen or bought from Aboriginal tribes in the early 19th century by white sealers and taken to the remote island in Bass Strait, the sea some hundreds of miles wide that separates Tasmania from Australia. Now, what they're saying is that these white men kidnapped these black women, enslaved them, impregnated them, moved them from their island across the sea that separated the Tasmanian part of Australia from what they call Australia, the major part, right? Now check this out, right? Check this out. The Tasmanian, here they were used as slave labor and often treated with extreme cruelty. The women sometimes killed the offspring of their liaisons with the sealers, meaning they killed the babies when they was raped. Don't that sound like the same thing as what the black natives and black people was doing right here in America when the slave, she was raped by the colonizer, and they would kill off that baby, or the trade didn't want them growing up in that condition. They didn't want to have that baby by that white man, by the colonizer. I mean, same thing. Oh, man, it's sad. But not all. Not all of them killed them off. The ones that survived formed a distinct community in the isolation of the Bass Strait Islands, conscious of their standing and rights as Aborigines. This is where it gets tricky. You got, they damn near look white Aborigines saying that they Tasmanian, that they are the offspring of the white colonizers who raped the Tasmanian women, had offsprings. So it's like the $5 Indian. Same thing. We're gonna claim to be part of this offspring so we can get government aid and assistance, but it's not going to the real offspring of the Tasmanian people. You know, meaning they still in their identity again, right? The second group now were the descendants of the Aborigines who lived on the Tasmanian mainland. Their lives were even more difficult. The assertion of their aboriginality, according contempt and discrimination, it was far easier to live as a Tasmanian by not being black. And so many Tasmanian Aborigines kept quiet about there being black fellas in the family. And yet in their family ways, in their traditions and customs, they retain much that mark them as different. They retain much that mark them as being different, meaning that these people carried on their tribal and their traditional ways, even though they had to hide their identity. You know, and meaning I'm confused. Are they saying that we got melanin in our skin, but we're not black? We're calling ourselves something else. So that the colonizer wouldn't abuse them or kill them off or kill them by stating that they were black fellas, you know, or was there a mixture and that family had blacks in the family like a Piola, you know. You almost can pass for white, and you got to keep your black side quiet because they found out they kill you. I mean, I guess the point I'm trying to make is the same thing that went over here in America. The exact same thing went over in Australia, went over in Brazil, went all over the planet. We didn't experience anything unique or new over here in America as black people. That's what I'm saying. Your brothers in Australia went through the same thing. They damn near wiped them out to extinction, right? Yeah. But Van Diemen's Land, as Tasmania, was known until 1856 when it changed its name to rid itself of the stigma associated with its convict past and history of war. Was not an English land, but a polyglot world full of Otheans, Caribbean slave revolt leaders, Lascars, Moluccans, whalers, and Maori sealers, and their descendants too. And their descendants too hide their origins with fabulous genealogies of Portuguese princes and Spanish maidens. In the time of the descendants of such people, not only wondered if they were not too Tasmanian Aborigines, but were often discriminated against on that very basis, sometimes for generations, having suffered and continuing to suffer as Tasmanian Aborigines, not without good reason. Some came to believe that they were Tasmanian Aborigines. Over the past 30 years, the Tasmanian Aborigine community has been resurgent, finding an organized voice in the Tasmanian Aboriginal century, TAC. But over time, the radicals of the 1970s transformed into a black political establishment. TAC's sense of identifying only those allied to its politics as the Aboriginal community and those opposed to TAC and its politics as not being Aboriginal led to a growing anger on the part of those Aborigines who didn't see eye to eye with TAC. Now, what they're saying is, these Aborigines in the 70s, they getting with the movement, the black movement. Look, man, we tired of being discriminated against. Some of their leaders, Malcolm X, some of them following Martin Luther King. They listening to what's going on over here in America. They're trying to build and unite, and we're still discriminated against. Right? But what I'm saying is, wow, is karma. I'm looking at these wildfires that's going on in Australia. And it made me think of the Tasmanian people. Like, you destroyed, wiped off damn near millions of people in an English invasion. And, I mean, you don't think that karma is real, or you'd have to pay for suffering of a people? I mean, it was so sad to where they tried to justify it. And the colonizers tried to say that the Tasmanian people were backward people, like they called it the natives here in America, savage, and that they were going to be extinct and wiped out. It was just a matter of time. So basically what they're saying is we wiped them out to just do nature and God a favor, because they weren't going to be able to take care of themselves. They were going to die out anyway. Wow. You know, but I'm just comparing what happened to the natives in America and the natives in Australia on the Tasmanian people. They did they did the exact same thing. But was that protocol? Was all Europeans that was coming into indigenous land? Where did they learn that strategy from? To go in and treat the people with brute force, kill off the people, take the land, and then assume their identity. Who taught them that? Were they taught that before they came into this country? Or are they saying that, as a friend of mine was saying the other day, as Cliff was saying, that when you colonize a area or a people, you become part of the people you colonize. You take on their ways. You start speaking their language and their dialect. That's why the rulers, the ones who had the money, who financed it, they knew that science. So they never came over here to live amongst areas that was colonized. They stayed where they were at. He was explaining to me that because they knew that once you live amongst the people that you colonize, you become them. Wow. Y'all don't hear me though. You don't hear me though. But hey, so now we're getting deep. So that's why I say that the greatest leader that black people had was the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, because he knew how to loosen the knot. He knew how to loosen the knot from the root. That's why you would hear Malcolm X state, we teach root knowledge. Once you know how to loosen that knot, once someone teaches you how to loosen the knot, then you can go and loosen knots all over town, everywhere. You can loosen the knot of speaking. You can loosen the knot of economics, of where you're tied up in. Once you've been taught how to loosen the knot, you're free. And so he taught all his ministers who were great knot looseners. One of the greatest is Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, who's loosening knots all over. Million Man March and his speeches and where he's going, he's loosening knots. He's teaching, and now blacks who saying I couldn't do it, now they're able to do it because now they learn the art on how to loosen the knot. The colonizer knotted you up. had you looking this way, looking that way, tied y'all up, made you feel like you were inferior and you couldn't do this, and then here comes he, and that's the thing. The colonizer can't take credit for the success of black people in America, all the way down to Barack Obama. All those knots were loosened by the teaching of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad on how to loosen knots. Because if you in a system or in a world of white supremacy, then they're not going to give you tools to free yourself. They're going to really continue to keep you knotted up and use every system, trick, tool at their disposal to make sure you don't untie the knot. So if they see you loosen and there's use for you, they wondering who untied this knot. I had him tied up. Who loosened him? And they say, well, I was over there listening to Farrakhan. I was listening to Elijah Muhammad. We moving. What do you mean? It's good to be free on this planet and not be knotted up. So now, where we at now? The Jews. The Jewish community is suffering anti-Semitic attacks over a 13-week on a 14-week period. But it's something to learn within that for minorities. Because their response was, I saw some with pepper spray, and they say they marched, and they like, look, we not taking no discrimination. You want to bring it. They saying we not finna stand idly by and become victims to discrimination. I said, wow. Okay, well, there you go. You have to stand firm and say, look, I'm not going to be discriminated against, all this racism, and we not taking this into 2020. We in it right now. Our tax dollars spend the same, like the Jews doing. You got the war. Well, you got the impeding war or talks of war with Iran due to the top general being killed. They're upset. America's getting ready. Supposedly, President Trump backed down from saying he was going to attack with 52 historical sites in Iran. After it came out that that's a violation of the war code. You can't do that. Only if you were being shot at from those historical sites, then they're off limits. If you were coming under fire from one of those historical sites, but it shows his foreign policy. They say he didn't know that. He didn't know that. So who's his advisor and who's training him, teaching him on the go? You went out to the world and made that statement, and they like, that's not, you can't do that. And then you turn on some of these shows and you seeing, people, they hoorahing Trump, and it's like, that means you all don't, you know just about as much as he knows then. It's crazy. Puerto Rico, earthquakes. I mean, wow, so much going on right now, but we got time to get it together, and that's the blessed part about it. We got time to get it together. Let's get it together, world. Let's not have our feelings and emotions get in the way and hurt feelings, and we take action blinded by emotions and make a mistake that you can't take back. And sometimes you have to, we did it. Look, I was at the Million Man March. Black folks atone. Damn. Maybe it's time for other people to atone as well for the evils that they done on the planet, And hey, Verbal Prick Radio, we out.